they play a role in cooling the trees down. The focus today is on urban cover, which is basically the green infrastructure, blue infrastructure in our cities, areas which act as heat sinks. Now, unfortunately, we have a lot of evidences and case studies here in your very good campus, and we have speakers lined up for today to share these experiences and evidences with you on the cooling effect that cover can have on surroundings. So, our first presentation is by Dr. Viraj Kaur. She is working as assistant professor at Guru Ramdas School of Planning. And let's have a big round of applause and welcome Dr. So, good morning, one and all. So, today we'll be discussing about green areas and microclimate. So, it's a very specific case study about the role of vegetation in changing the microclimate of an area. So, just to brief about the coverage, I'll be talking about India Cooling Action Plan briefly. Then I'll be talking about how urbanization is increasing and what's its impact on urban climate. Then urban heat islands, its impact strategies, and specific case study of GND. So in 2017, with a perspective of 20 years, Indian government had launched National Cooling Action Plan. And in this plan, they had identified various sectors in which cooling demand is increasing rapidly. So how to mitigate that cooling demand for the future? That is the key criteria. One of the objectives which we can relate with urban planning is to suggest interventions in each sector to provide for sustainable cooling and thermal comfort for all. So when we talk about thermal comfort, it means thermal comfort of all the individuals, all the human beings who are living in urban areas. It is very important. So, as we all know that population is increasing in urban areas. More and more people are coming to urban areas. They are settling in the urban areas. We face number of problems day by day. Traffic congestion is increasing. Pollution is increasing, be it air pollution, be it water pollution or land pollution. So, it is predicted that by 2050, almost 68% of the population, world population, will be concentrating in the urban areas. So that means, no doubt, the urban balance, energy balance in these urban areas is going to be impacted. So it is going to bring global warming, climate changes, air pollution, traffic congestion, and definitely the deterioration of urban thermal environment. So when we talk about urban thermal environment, all these activity, concentration of these activity, traffic, land use, or industries, it is bringing and increasing the temperature rise in these urban areas. So it is leading to urban heat island. So it has been discussed yesterday as well that urban heat island is basically that there are in urban areas there are non-reflective surfaces, there are dark areas, dark surfaces, so they absorb more heat. Plus there are activity, for example, emissions from the vehicle. It is leading to temperature rise. So in the core, there are rise in temperature because of all these activities. As we move away from the core areas, if there is a green area, we see a sharp decline in the temperature. Plus, if it is the water body, we again see a sharp decline in the area. So all these heat islands are impacting the urban livability. More additionally, they are also contributing to the greenhouse gas emissions, which is a major cause for climate change. So impacts of urban heat islands. So it is impacting the environment because energy consumption is definitely going to increase. Energy consumption is increasing. Your GHG emissions are going to increase. It might they are leading to climate change. Then it is also increasing the cooling load. If temperature is increasing, you require more and powerful ACs. So those powerful ACs will be consuming more electricity. For generation of that electricity, you will be consuming more fossil fuels. So this is a complete cycle which goes on. So it is also impacting the health. Like during the summer, if you go for a walk, you don't feel like walking on the streets in a sunny day. So you feel discomfort. There are chances of heat stroke. So even there are severe health impacts also. So overall, your quality of life is impacted. However, there might be some positive effects also. Like we may see an increase in the plant growing season. So expansion of plant growing season can also be seen. So coming to strategies, these strategies have been discussed in yesterday's lecture by the persons who were representing the CSC. So first type of strategies I have categorized into two types. One is roof strategies and second is non-roof strategies. When we talk about roof strategies, we all know that our urban areas are already established. We can't replan those areas, we can't rebuild those areas, we can't create a green space into those areas. So we have only spaces that we have left is the roof space. So we should focus on existing roof spaces by greening those roof spaces or by having high reflectance roof surfaces, we can bring down the temperature. So like in the first image, if it is a non-green surface or it is unpaved surface or it's not a green roof, it is absorbing more thermal energy. So in a result, solar radiations are absorbed, so it is increasing the temperature. On the other side, if we see if there are green roofs, there are green infrastructure, so all these are basically decreasing the temperature. So on the right side, there is again cool surfaces. So if it is a cool surface, it is reflecting 80% of the thermal radiation. So that means your temperature is going to lower to some extent. Then coming next is non-roof strategies. So in non-roof strategies, one is we can have our incorporations in the architectural design. So we can design buildings in such a way that there are natural shading happening because of the architectural design, or it can be with the help of some energy-based devices. Like the bottom two pictures are depicting that solar energy can also be generated, plus they can also be used for energy production, which is renewable energy. Then cool pavements. So I hope that all of you have been to the Golden Temple, and especially if you have visited during the summer time period. And when you walk on the pavement, you will see that when you are walking on a white marble, you are feeling cool. While if your footsteps on is on the black marble, you feel very hot. So you try to keep your footsteps on the white marble, especially during the summer afternoon if you are visiting the Golden Temple. So that clearly means that temperature is lesser if it is light or it has a reflectance. And again, if you see the Golden Temple premises, it is a white structure. All the surrounding buildings are white. In the center, there is water body. So all these are reflecting the solar radiation, and they are not absorbing the heat. So that means it is lowering the temperature. So then another non-roof strategy is vegetation. So vegetation plays a very important role. If there are spaces available, then we must go for vegetation. And vegetation means if we have green areas, if we plant trees, they absorb less heat in comparison to open areas. If there are lawns, they will absorb more heat in comparison to green areas. So here I will be discussing a case of Guru Nanak Dev University. You all have been to this university, either being a student, you are here for 3 or 4 years. You all you might see that when you are entering from the city to the university, you feel a temperature variation. In the winters, you feel extreme cold. In the summer, you feel a comfortable environment within the campus. So it is a 500-acre campus. So the black areas are basically blocks, either institutional block or residential block or hostels and roads. So university has only 7 to 8% built up area, and whereas remaining area is green area. And if we talk about green area means it can be lawns, it can be playgrounds, it can be trees, it can be gardens. So even if there can be unplanned, unorganized open spaces also. So going further, these are the two images. One is basically depicting the Google Earth, and the second is the activities which are there. So on this particular side, we can see that it is an agricultural area. Over here, there is a dense plantation. Here, new agriculture department and electronics department come up, and lot of open area is here. When we go in the center, here a lot of vegetation, lot of trees, dense trees are there in the center. Over here, a new building is being constructed. The center of interface center is being constructed over here. So we can see these are all these are the trees which have been uh, pointed out within the campus by using GPS. So all these are the trees which are existing within the campus. So there are around 34,000 trees within the campus. Of 143, there are different categories. And this study was done by Ma'am Avinash and her research scholar. So we had located those trees on the map. And if we look into the unorganized green, so these include soil surface green, grass surface green, or green which is along the bone. So all those are the unorganized green areas. So how trees are impacting the microclimate? So they are bringing the energy balance. Like we had discussed that urbanization is leading to negatively impact the energy balance. So vegetation is positively impacted. So high quality urban living, it stops the solar radiation, it decreases the wind, it reduces the air temperature, and overall urban thermal environment is improved. So yesterday we had also discussed that trees also act as in lowering the sky view factor. So if there is a lower sky view factor, that means there is less penetration of solar radiation, thereby making the environment more comfortable. So overall, it is providing shading, it is providing cooling impact for the pedestrian. So these are the two images. If you have gone on walked on the footpaths, these are the two pictures of the GNU. So the lower graph, there was a study conducted again by a student in our department. So he had identified that in the rural areas, the temperature is drastically lower in comparison to DND. Because DND is again in an urban area, it is getting impacted by the surrounding urban climate. The temperatures are higher as compared to rural areas. But as we go inside, there is drastic increase in the temperature. So there is a temperature variation of around 3 degrees within the campus and outside the campus. And even within the campus, there is huge variation. So this analysis has been done using land satellite images. So in that there are two bands, band 10 and band 11, which are thermal bands, which basically yesterday Nitish has talked about the same, that we can use these images to actually see what is the land surface temperature. So using that, the surface temperature has been analyzed for DNU. So again, if you could recall over here, so on the top side, their construction was going on. So that has increased the temperature. On agricultural area where the agricultural areas were there, again there is decrease in temperature. Again in the central area where there is dense plantation, there is decrease in temperature. There are botanical gardens over here. So I hope you can see over here there is botanical garden. Again we can see there is a decline in temperature. So that means your temperature gets impacted if there is dense vegetation or green area. So these are a few pictures of GNDU, how the buildings are covered by the dense plantation and how it is ultimately impacting the thermal comfort. We can see the buildings are surrounded by large dense trees, the canopy foliage is covering the building, so there is comparatively lesser skyview factor. Again, the parking areas are again backside parking, it is exposed to sun, and again there is a temperature variation. Again, if you see, there are some parkings which are completely shaded, some parkings they are exposed to sun. So there is these leads to variations within the temperature. Again, these are the pictures of botanical gardens, densely planted area, huge shading, water bodies. So again, it lowers the temperature. So now these are the manual temperature readings which have been taken just 2 or 3 days before by Jaspreet. So, so what it shows that near to the library, the temperature was 19.5 degrees. And as we move away, like near behind parking where the new construction is going on, it goes up to 25 degrees. And if we move further to the agricultural areas, it goes up to 30 degrees. So there is a temperature variation of 11 degrees. So during using the land satellite images, there was a temperature variation of 8 degrees, but on the manual record, it has shown a variation of 11 degrees. So definitely it impacts the temperature. So in addition to that, like we had seen that urbanization is a vicious cycle. if there is one problem, it adds to another problem. But if there are green areas, again it is a vicious loop. So if there is one positive impact, there are going to be more and more positive. So one is it is providing comfortable environment within the campus. Second is it is also acting as a sink. So based upon the different plant species, the carbon sequestration potential of different species has been calculated, and around 3,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent is sequestered within the campus, and it is all because of the tree cover. Then there are other things also. We are not going to talk about all those things. So this is the overall summary of carbon footprint of GND. So carbon footprint per person, it is only 0.14, almost equal to zero. So it's not zero emissions, but they are leading to some emissions because of various factors. But if we see like green cover, it acts as a sink. Solar energy which is generated within the campus, it is also acting as a sink. Then material which is being recycled within the campus, it is also acting as a kind of sink. So 82% of the total sink, it is just alone attributed because of the trees. So that means trees play a very important role in reducing the carbon emissions. So to summarize, so urban key guidelines, definitely they are modified because of the dense urbanization, dense activities which are happening in urban areas. Land use and land cover plays a very important role. If it is the plain black, grey areas, they are going to be hotter area in comparison to the green areas. So increased tree cover has shown that there can be temperature variation between 8 degree to 11 degree, and tree efficiently decrease the thermal radiations by lowering the sky level. So this is all about the presentation. So thank you one and all.
Very good morning to everyone. And I'm Professor Nash Konate, GND itself from Department of Chemical and Environmental. So, Dr. Ritu has very nicely explained that we are not only in a clean and green campus, but we are in a cooler campus. So, GNDU is a clean, green, and a cool campus. As we already know that air pollution is a menace. Its effects are being felt throughout the world, and it causes many health effects, and even many deaths can be seen due to air pollution. So, Dr. Ritu has already discussed about the plants. So they have a cooling effect. How they have a cooling effect? Because they act as filters, and they absorb the greenhouse gases which cause the heating, and then they purify our air, and then this is an important aspect in mitigating air pollution. We need to grow more trees and even shrubs on the campus or anywhere we are living. Plants growing in a given area, they positively affect the regional or the local air quality. Trees are considered as lungs of any urban area. If we think about trees are temperature and microclimate T is for temperature and microclimate moderation. R is for removal of air pollutant. E is for erosion control, and second E is for energy conservation. Trees are actually the root of our. So we already know the benefits of trees. They improve our air quality as well as water quality by reducing the storm runoff, and then they lower the cooling costs because they help in mitigation of the heat which we face due to hot sun, and they reduce noise pollution as well as they have medicinal value and aesthetic value, which we already know. So clean green environment everybody is talking about, and ours is a clean green campus, and it is also a cooler campus. So it's a biodiverse campus with lush green plantations, and the figures 38,000 something were the figures which the trees which we actually counted. There are some forested areas we could not count, and it was just assumed that it was an overview that we may have more than 40,000 trees, shrubs and climbers. Not only trees, shrubs and climbers. And these shrubs and climbers, they belong to 150 species. For one species, we may have thousands of trees or shrubs. So we have large number of ornamental and shady trees, and every year we plant thousands of these shrubs and climbers. So plantation of trees has been there ever since the university came into existence. But when Professor Jaswant Chandra joined the campus, so he wanted that our campus should be full of trees. And I hope you know that when you walk in summers, we can walk in shade. So we are protected from the scorching heat of the sun. So planting more trees is considered as the best solution to fight air pollution, and so we need to. Some trees they can tolerate more air pollution or heat. Some trees they are more sensitive to air pollution. So we need to go for the trees which are more tolerant to air pollution. And how do we know that trees are more tolerant? So there are two indices which are widely used world over. They are air pollution um, tolerance index, that is APTI, and anticipated performance index, which is abbreviated as API. So they are widely used to determine whether a tree, a particular tree or shrub or a herb is more tolerant to air pollution or not. So basically, leaves are the plant parts which are more exposed to the environment, and they immediately respond by showing alterations in certain morphological as well as biochemical parameters. The four important biochemical parameters, that is ascorbic acid content, chlorophyll content, relative water content, and leaf extract pH. These four parameters they have been used to calculate the APTI, and there is a proper equation to determine the APTI of a particular plant. So based upon the value of the APTI, the plant species are categorized. If the APTI value is more than 30, between 30 to 100, then it is considered as tolerant plant. If it is between 17 to 29, it is considered as intermediately tolerant. If it is from 1 to 16, then it is sensitive, and less than 1 is very, very sensitive. So this is pH. pH is important for normal functioning of the plant, and if the plant is exposed to air pollutants, so some of which are nitrogen dioxide or sulfur dioxide, when they enter the plants, and then they result in formation of acids, nitric acid and sulfuric acid, which cause the lowering of the pH. So that is known as the acidic pH. So acidic pH is not good for the plant, and it lessens the photosynthetic activity as well as it's tolerant to the air pollution. Second is the total chlorophyll content. This is also an important parameter, and lower the content, lower is the tolerance of the plant. Similarly, ascorbic acid is an antioxidant, and it is synthesized by the plant, but when the plant is exposed to air pollutants, its CAN content decreases, and hence it is also an important parameter. Then relative water content, the cells of the leaf should be turgid enough, should have enough water to undergo different kinds of metabolic reactions. If the water is less, then it is also going to affect its tolerance to air pollution. So, if we talk about APTI, a plant which is a herb, it can have more APTI. A plant which is a shrub can also have more APTI, but a plant which is a larger tree can have relatively lesser APTI. But besides APTI, other parameters are considered for determining the API. These include the type of plant, whether it's an evergreen plant or deciduous plant. So deciduous plant, when it sheds all its leaves, then it becomes more less tolerant. So it's not advisable. Depending upon what is our aim of, if we want to have a cooling effect, then we should always go for evergreen trees. Then a habit of the plant, whether it's a large tree or middle-sized tree or it's a small tree. So different grades are given for calculating the API. For example, for tolerance level, if it is more than 50, we have 5 positive grades. If it is 30 to 40, there's 4 positive grades and so on and so forth. Depending upon type of plant, evergreen is given 1 positive grade, whereas the deciduous is given the negative grade. Similarly, for plant habits, large are given more grade. Canopy structure, whether it's a spreading and dense, then it is 2 plus. If it's spreading but it is open, so that it is not more dense, then it is given 1 plus. And if it is a sparse, then it is given the negative grade. So for leaf size also, depending upon that, and the texture of the leaf, whether it's a thick coriaceous leaf or a thin leaf, again positive and negative are given. Then for hardiness, whether it's a hard leaf texture or it's a flexible leaf texture. So frequency of uses, if it has more than 4 uses, we give 2 plus. If it has 3 to 4 uses, we give 1 plus. So maximum possible grades any particular plant can have is 16, and this 16 comes from, like we have a 5 here, then we have 1 here, 5 plus 1, 6, then we have 2 here maximum, 6 plus 2, 8, 8 plus 2, 10, and then we have 1 here, 11, this is 13. I missed 3 of 12. Size. Anyways, so the maximum possible score under each heading, it can be 16. So we can calculate the total scores of grades obtained by a plant divided by maximum possible grades and multiplied by 100. We get percentage of the grades. So depending upon the percentage of the grades, we have the API value. If the percentage score is less than 30, the API value is 0. That means this particular plant should not be recommended for if we want to have cooling effect, or if we want, if it's a polluted area. In a polluted area, we should grow more plants which are best performance. 31 to 40 is the poor performance, 91 to 100 is best. So the range is from not recommended to the best performers. So in this study, we estimated APTI and API of different tree species growing in the campus, and I discussed that we have large number of trees growing in the campus. These are some of the pictures of different species which we have on the campus. And Nitika is sitting here. She did this work for calculating APTI and API for this. So we identified the 7 trees which are good or very good or excellent performer. The Acacia fistula, which is amalthus, and you can see the yellow flowers which drop down from the tree branches. It is a very good level of performance. Then we have Ficus infectoria, which is known as white fig, and this is also very good. Then we have Mangifera indica, mango plants, again very good performance. Then we have Mimosops elengi, again it has, this is the mulberry, and large number of plants are there and very good performance. Then we have Pongamia pinnata, which is commonly known as Substan, again very good performance. Among these, the guava plant showed the best performance, excellent performance. Then Terraspermum, which is known as dinner plate tree, and very good performance. Then Speculativa, which is known as kusum, very good performance. Then the jamun also very good performance. That means that these plants should be, we should have focus more plantation. It doesn't mean that we grow only these plants. We should be growing all kinds of plants, but the quantity of these plants or the frequency of these plants should be more. So everybody knows about the importance of trees, and this is Shiv Kumar Batali saying, "Kuch rukh mainu put lag de ne, kuch rukh lag de mama, kuch rukh noha diyan lag de, kuch rukh paam nawa, rukta meri maa vargi ne jhoon khana." This is a plantation drive in one of the plantation drives in our campus. We need to be part of the solution of the pollution. If we really think environment is less important, so we know we have seen COVID times how costly and how inaccessible oxygen was. We need to save the planet. Thank you very much.
So first two presentations here, my presentation to be very comfortable to understand. So today I'll be discussing on the role of plants in temperature control for urban heat islands. So just a brief definition. What is urban heat island? When cities produce natural land cover with the surfaces that absorb more heat and retain more heat normally, we call that cities the urban heat island. And the main reasons for this is the dense concentration of the pavements, the construction of more and more buildings, the roads, the concrete structures, which ultimately increases the energy cost and air pollution levels and also heat-related illness. On one side, I think just in comparison of two different surfaces, that is the urban and rural. So basically, in rural, since that the vegetation is more, they reduces the albedo effect. I don't know if anybody has talked of albedo effect is one of the leading factors which increases the temperature in a particular area. That means when the land is barren, it results into more radiation effect also, and that would also be increasing the temperature in the nearby area. So plants, on the other hand, they are good absorbents. They reduce this albedo effect also, and therefore also other mechanism because of the evaporation or evapotranspiration, they further reduce the temperature. So this is just a plot we quantify, and it said that we have just 3% of the earth which is covered under the urban area. And if we talk of this 3% area, it's not that just a small area, because we know that 71% of the planet is water, 29% is made up of land, one third of it is desert, and two-thirds of it is forest. So that means ultimately out of this 10%, we are having 3% which will be converted into the urban areas, which is really a big area. So let's talk about what are the factors which are affecting the urban climate. I'm just focusing on a very few. There are so many a number of factors. So the main factors are the geographical features, then topography or physical characteristics of that particular area. The soil characteristics play a very, very important role for defining the microclimate of the area. Then environmental and meteorological conditions, then influence of the water bodies, what type of the water bodies are there. Then density of the buildings or what type of constructions are coming up in that particular area. Then thermal response of a building. When I'm talking of a building, so yesterday it was being talked of, the structure is very important. What type of a material is used for the buildings also play a very important role. We just cannot say that building is causing increased heat effect. So the materials which are used for that also play a great role. So I'll put this three into red. So my study is basically focused on air quality and emissions because they are also the leading factors for changing the temperature, then which may be one of the contributing factor for towards the urban heat islands. Then the second aspect is discussing of the electromagnetic radiations, the radiations because of the increased use of 4G, 5G, these heat radiations are also increasing in the areas and the vegetation of the area, which play one of the very prime role in the temperature of local area. So this is one just example how the radiations ultimately they would be resulting into the concrete areas, and apart from this adding on so many other reasons like emissions from industries, from vehicular sources and from domestic sources, they all pile up together to make the urban areas into the urban heat islands. So now here comes the role of the plants. How do they keep a check on the air quality, urban air quality? So they are considered to be the best oxygen providers. A single tree can provide 1 day's worth oxygen for a family of members of 4 people. Then economic investment, since that they are naturally, playing a role for stormwater management, air purification, energy conservation. So many costs can be reduced, so there could be a very good economic investment. Then power or electricity savers, they are considered to be like it's estimated that 50 million well-placed shade plant trees have the potential of eliminating the need of say 100 megawatt power plants. Then they are also considered to be as emission controls, then air purifiers, then natural coolants. They also reduce the stress because very good aesthetic value which is being provided by the plants that keeps it makes you to feel less stressed when you are along with the plants. Then it is they are considered as energy savers. Then filtrations for the stormwater, they are also considered to be controlling the noise, so the peacemakers. So trees and vegetation lower surface and air temperature by providing the shade and through evapotranspiration. So when plants they can alter the temperature because of the basic phenomena which they have. That is, the water is being taken up from the ground by the help of the roots, and then with the transpiration tool, once it is being taken or being through the leaf, then they transfer out. So evaporation phenomena ultimately lowers the temperature of that particular region. So this is how they lower the temperature. So ultimately, so they more and more trees they result into reduction of the heat island effect. So I've just given very few examples which are considered to be as a very commonly used plants indoors. They are considered to be as the plants for combating the heat stress. Some of the examples are like Ficus benjamina, then Dracena Dracena is also called as the snake plant or the mother-in-law's tongue. Then Chinese evergreen, which is Agriminoma. Then Ficus elastica, rubber plant, which is then some of the palms. Now, I just while going through the literature, I came across a study. Now, when we are talking that plants are reducing the stress, plants are taking up heat, there is some mechanism behind how the plants can tolerate. So this study was very catchy for me, like the role of salicylic acid in combating the heat stress in plants. So there are so many internal changes within the plants which make specific plants to grow in a particular region, which can be used for combating that particular stress. So coming to again the case studies which we have, as I was just talking about earlier. So in our studies, we are talking about environmental pollution. We are conducting various studies on environmental pollution molecules. So today we will be discussing about air. So my first case study is identification of emission sources and monitoring of contaminants, which is the prime step to manage the air quality. So this study is being conducted in Amritsar area. So the particulate matter, because everybody knows the particulate matter also result in absorption of heat, and if more TS3 is there, particulate matter is there in an area, it would be absorbing more and more heat, and which would be making uncomfortable stay for the residents in that particular area. So in this study, we collected the particulate matter and then we prepared the extracts, and we we have instrumentation facility in emerging life sciences building. We have a chemical absorption. We have scanning electron microscope. And we also conducted a study to find out what are the detrimental effects of these particulate matter. And then the results were here. We found that particulate matter was very high in that particular region, and they also led to various types of abnormalities in the cell. That means the particulate matter which is there, it is leading to the deleterious effects within the plant system. So this study is being conducted in Livability, which we call it as a common onion. So it has shown that, so the study basically, LMCPA is used as a test model. But this is, when we conduct such studies, it shows the overall effect of these pollutants on all types of the plants. So then we carried out the STEM and EDX studies. So these are some of the STEM studies which show this is the particulate matter which is bound to the filter paper. And then we carried out the EDX which has shown that this particulate matter is also consists of various types of metals like chromium, copper, zinc, cadmium, lead, which are available from various anthropogenic sources, which can be from constructions, from industrial emissions, from domestic emissions, and so on. This is another one, chromium, iron, copper, zinc, cadmium, and lead was found. And we also carried out this study for a larger area. And we also have seen that these particulate matter, they were also able to induce the tumors. We used for this potato disc tumor assay, where we use the disc of the potato and then we induce that, maybe give the exposure of the particular fluid extract to the disc, and then we see after the controlled condition, it results into the formation of tumors and we have reduced the tumors in this. So this is the publication of this. The second study I was talking, case study I was talking about is, which is also factor, is increasing electromagnetic radiation exposures. Plants being sessile in nature, they cannot move. Human beings, they can move from one place to another. They can say that, but for plants there is no escape. Once they are planted in one place, they are continuously getting exposure. So the second study was carried out with the same thing, like what type of the plants which are able to tolerate all types of the stress, which can be used for the doing that recovery. So with this aspect, we have taken another method. We have taken this electromagnetic radiation as a source for the stress in plants, and then we have carried forward this study. And this was an experimental setup, and we found that they induce the morphological as well as the various physiological changes. There was reduction in the percentage germination, and then oxidative stress and oxidative stress, geotoxicity, which were also the outcomes of the study. So we carry forward this study further to the field, and here in GNU campus we carried out this study to see what type of the effect is there on the plants which are growing in the campus, especially using this pollen viability assay. This bioassay we have used for herbs and shrubs. We have taken the small plants and we have collected the flower. Out of the flower, we have taken the pollen and then we have checked whether the viability of those pollens are getting adapted. Of course, this is a comparative study. Still, the study is going on. We are comparing it with the others. In campus, we found that pollen viability was varying from almost 80 to 85 to 90%. But whereas the other study which we are now proceeding, we are not taking the results, but the pollen viability is far less when we are taking the roadside samples or other samples. So that means the GNU campus is comparatively less exposed to these types of the pollution. So these were the recommendations which were given. This is actually a part of RUSA project which was under the Center for Sustainable Habitat. And so we have given certain recommendations that the sustainability policies and their implementation mechanism in India need to keep pace with the growth of mobile telephone services, and public consultation should be made mandatory before installation of any cell phone tower within the area. And similarly, the forest department and other stakeholders should also be consulted before installation of such cell phone towers in and around national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, bird sanctuaries, and zoos, etc. So this is the third case study which we have taken which ma'am has just mentioned, we have estimated the air pollution tolerance index as well as the anticipated performance index, and we came across the various. I mean, we did a study on 10 different plants, and we found that Ficus religiosa, then Polyalthia longifolia, Virginia velligata, and Medium oleander, because the four plant species which are additional to what ma'am has told, which can be grown in the region which are under stress, and then they can further help in combating the pollution as well as the reducing the urban island effects. This is all about my presentation. Thank you.
I now call upon my colleagues to take over for the next session on. So let's have a round of applause for him.
जब तक ये करते हैं तो आज तो ये दिन भी है कल देखो कैसे चुप कर बैठे आज संपत्ति का दिन तो सभी को मुबारक हो आपकी जो सर्टिफिकेट है वो तैयार है अगर किसी ने रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं किया तो आप कल हो चुकी है और अभी तक आज तक कोई रजिस्ट्रेशन ना की कैन यू रेज हैंड अगेन 1 2 3 तो अभी आपको स्टार रजिस्ट्रेशन करवा दें और सर्टिफिकेट्स हैं तो लास्ट सेशन से लंच से जस्ट पहले आपको तब तक आपको यहाँ
Okay, so काफी सारे we've seen all of these principles, urban heat island effect है, microclimate enhancement है, and we do understand that many of these cases, once it comes to a neighborhood level, once it comes to a building level, they will require some amount of cooling no matter what. But of course, the first defense has to be, let's say, your passive features or enhancing your microclimate enhancement features, all of those things, right? So let's see how those have been done in various buildings, and I'll sort of explain the principles of how all of this has been done, right? So, State of India's environment the last March we had in 2022 was a record-breaking one. I mean, every year we keep hearing record-breaking summer record-breaking summer but this was the hottest summer we had in about 122 years. And at the same time, I'm also going to tell you that India has amongst the lowest per capita energy consumption in the world when it comes to cooling. जब हम cooling demand करते हैं, तो शायद world around मेरे ख्याल 200 के ऊपर अगर हम लोग डिमांड कर रहा है वर्ल्ड तो हम अबाउट 67 किलोवाट डालते हैं जो हमारी एनर्जी डिमांड काफी कम है as compared to what the world is demanding for but that of course is about to change this has been predicted and India already created something called the India Cooling Action Plan. Has anybody heard of this? The India Cooling Action Plan? Yeah, just any idea what does it say about why is it of concern to us? So India Cooling Action Plan basically ये चीजें कहता है कि predict करता है कि about 8 times हमारी tonnage of refrigeration की जो demand है वो 8 times तो बढ़ जाएगी and only in terms of buildings this demand is going to increase by 11 times. So the amount of cooling we are consuming is going to increase by 11 times. 11%, 11 times. So it's a huge number, right? And of course, this is going to be because our economy is getting better, so people are earning better. The capital investment in cooling might be going down. So all of those factors are going to be responsible for such a huge wide demand. And of course, every one of us as planners, as architects, are responsible for trying to bring this demand down. And India Cooling Action Plan is trying to do the same. So, what does it say? That there are key findings that say 30% reduction can happen because of reduction in cooling equipment efficiency. And 20% can happen in terms of climate appropriate building envelopes, better application of, let's say, energy conservation building code, etc. So, all of these things have to come together for us to bring down this energy demand, which is right now predicted to be 11 times. So, अगर मैं एक जनरल सवाल पूछूं कि कूलिंग डिमांड हो रही है आपके let's say neighborhood में buildings में so सबसे पहले what is the thing that you can sort of apply for this cooling demand to go down? What principle would you apply since that you've learned till now? You know, everybody talked about like here अभी भी आधा घंटा कुछ बातें कही गई कल की बातें कही what principle would you apply? You know, cooling demand कम करनी है what all factors can be taken? Cost ventilation. All right. सबसे ऊपर से देखो. So let's start with a holistic figure and then come down to every single building. Let's say. Vegetation is one lever. What will it change? What will vegetation actually change? Think of a bigger picture.
Orientation.
Selective plantation.
Sorry.
Selective plantation.
Selective plantation. But again, that's a lever that you're talking about a very small factor. But majorly, what you want to say, of course, whatever you guys are saying, is that you want to enhance the microclimate, right? We understand that आपके urban area में एक temperature ज़्यादा है और बाहर कम होगा. उसके लिए आप एक microclimate अपने enhance करने की कोशिश करोगे, जिसके levers हो सकते हैं, as you said, plantation, right? What else can be a lever for microclimate enhancement? अभी आपने GND की case study सुनी, right? What else can you use in GND just to bring down the temperatures? Think of summers and what else can be used? After plantation, alright, what else?
Using of some special materials which can, reflect more of the heat.
Alright, yes, materials could be one, but we're again coming to the building level. Think about the city, the voids between the buildings and all of those things. Now we have the building water bodies, right? So water bodies is a huge thing that you can solve. So, alright, so just going forward with this, multiple things that can happen in terms of microclimate as well as form, so that becomes the first level of defense that we're going to offer this. The second level of defense could be something like a material. So what kind of a design you're using, what kind of material you're using, and of course ventilation is also part of it, and how the building blocks are formed, how the predominant ventilation in those urban areas is, and then the third perhaps can be some sort of a sustainable cooling solution that I'm going to sort of show that what kind of sustainable building solutions have actually been applied in all of these factors. Okay, so looking at the potential, if the requirement of active cooling is on your top, it's that much. Some of it can come down due to microclimate enhancement. In fact, we have certain data that shading by ventilation can bring out 5 degrees centigrade. Installation of vertical landscaping, hanging gardens can affect as much as 13 degrees inside the building. So all of these cannot really be, you can't use them as a blanket, and these are various studies in various contexts. Not all of them have been conducted in India, but I'm just giving you a basic idea that various, in some areas, adiabatic cooling or evaporative cooling might be much more better than, let's say, maybe अगर आप dry region में जाते हैं, maybe आप जोधपुर में अगर evaporative cooling करते हैं, it might be able to bring down the temperature much better because of evaporative cooling as compared to, let's say, something that you might experience near Kolkata, near your coast, because humidity is high. So all of them have different potentials. These are different ones that we have studied. Of course, cool roofs is a very, very simple thing that is able to bring down about temperature about 5 degrees centigrade, but it would only be affecting the topmost floor. So all of these things, let's say the building form, the building envelope, material, all these things are going to play a factor. So how we start this conversation is that, has anybody read Energy Conservation Building Code? So this is a code by which all the commercial buildings are supposed to adhere to something, that you need to do all of these things to be able to bring down your energy consumption. But we understand that the learnings we have taken from them is that we need to make some mandatory changes in our laws so that the urban heat island effect can be countered, the microclimate enhancement can be taken forward. And what perhaps is the fourth element we can sort of add? We've said microclimate, we've said design, we've said sustainable low impact cooling. What is the fourth element we can add? Alright. The increase in cooling demand is basically, anybody can imagine that most of it would be by room air conditioners, right? You would have single air conditioners, that is the most amount of cooling required, that would be responsible for the most amount of cooling requirement. In fact, in 2006, 2 million units of room air conditioners were sold. By 2017, this was 30 million. By 2030, this is expected to be anywhere between 55 million to 124 million. So this is predicted कि इतना ज़्यादा आपका room air conditioner तो आपकी demand बढ़ने वाली है. However, जो आपका individual air conditioner है वो काफी ज़्यादा inefficient होता है. So imagine आपका एक single dwelling है, उसमें आपने एक individual air conditioner लगा रखा है. Now that is going to consume a lot more energy and it is going to be very capital intensive as well. So आपको multiple air conditioners लगाने पड़ते हैं instead of one. Small single units are much more inefficient. Imagine आपका एक single air conditioner है हर एक कमरे में, that is going to be much more inefficient than what you might experience in a different scenario. So I'm directly going to tell you a little bit about one of the solutions, which is called a district cooling system. District cooling system basically means that multiple buildings in a neighborhood sort of a scale are being being air conditioned by a single unit. आपका एक single unit एक जगह पे लगा हुआ है, rather आपने एक individual air conditioner लगाया हुआ है, आप एक single बड़ा सा unit लगा के, for example यहाँ पे है, और multiple buildings को आप cater करें, तो वहाँ पे chilled water एक जगह पे produce होगा, and it will be taken to every single building, जहाँ से वो cool लेंगे और ये वापस ले जाएंगे. इसके फायदे कुछ हैं, very in simple terms, these are various possibilities that exist. I will explain some of them. But in very simple terms, अगर आपके पास एक water body है, तो आप heat जो आप produce करते हैं वो आप reject कर सकते हैं. Which is of course not possible अगर आपने हर एक कमरे में एक single air conditioner लगा रहे हैं, that's not possible. But अगर आप एक जगह पे produce कर रहे हैं, तो आप heat को reject कर सकते हैं एक single जगह पे. कुछ जगहों पे आप heat produce कर रहे होंगे, for example industries में. That industrial heat, there is a technology called the VAM technology, vapor absorption machine, which can directly convert this heat directly into air conditioning. So all of these factors become possible when you're sort of centralizing your air conditioning system. And we all remember the plan of Chandigarh where, everybody sort of goes away at one point of time and then at night we come back to a central place. But of course, this narrative has sort of changed and we are back to talking about mixed land uses, polycentric development. Now, what that offers is, so look at this neighborhood. Some of this neighborhood would be, let's say, residential and some of this would be commercial, right? एक mixed land use थोड़ा सा imagine करिए कि कुछ part ये है, कुछ part वो है. And what the advantage you would get is that आपके daytime में usually cooling demand कहाँ पे होगी? Which area would have your daytime cooling demand? Usually. Commercial में, so your offices are demanding a lot of cooling. So most of the offices are demanding cooling, and at night time it's the residential, right? So right now, what the theory is कि अगर मेरा 100 टन डिमांड यहाँ पे है और 100 टन का डिमांड यहाँ पे है, तो मैं 100 टन के यहाँ पे भी चिल्लर लगा रहा हूँ, यहाँ पे भी चिल्लर लगा रहा हूँ. But how about if I'm doing all of this centrally? What I can do is that I have a 100-ton plant which is serving the let's say the commercial area during the daytime, and the same plant is utilizing the same resources to for the residential area at night. So this is one of the advantages that I start getting. Apart from that, so did people understand this idea that we have variability in demand in a sort of a mixed neighborhood sort of a system where commercial activities also exist and residential activities also exist? So just if I understand this by graph, on one area I have two buildings, the red one and the blue one. In the first one on your left, I would be sort of creating my, maybe capacity of the chiller would be dependent on the building A, which is higher. And in the second building, it would be A plus B, because of the fact that both of them are peaking at the same time. जो बिल्डिंग A का है और बिल्डिंग B का लोड है, वो दोनों के दोनों ऑलमोस्ट एक ही टाइम पे पीक कर रहे हैं. इसका ये मतलब है कि मुझे सेकंड सिनेरियो में काफी ज्यादा चिलर कैपेसिटी इंस्टॉल करनी पड़ेगी, जबकि फर्स्ट सिनेरियो में आई कैन जस्ट ट्रांसफर माय कूलिंग apparatus that I have. Another sort of advantage that I get is that you can imagine that at night time my air conditioning would work much better. Why is that? Because night time के जो temperatures होते हैं वो कम होते हैं, which means अगर मैं night time operate करूँ तो आपको इतना ज़्यादा ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ती electricity को, मतलब आपको ज़्यादा efficient हो जाता है आपका system. So this idea is called thermal storage, and this is also being used in building, where I produce ice during the night, or ice or very cold water during the night. Then it's a much more efficient system, and during the daytime I'm able to take it through my building so that I can use this cool and that. Okay, and anyways we understand that अगर आप centralize करते हैं तो आपने भी काफी जगह देखा होगा, आपने cooling towers देखे हैं भाई किसी ने? Right, so a lot of buildings have cooling towers because they can use evaporative cooling to sort of increase the efficiency of your HVAC system at the same time. I'm going to run through a little bit of case studies that we have gone through while understanding some of these systems that have been involved. And of course, not to forget that requirement of cooling को अगर आपको कम करना है तो maybe आप सबसे पहले microclimate enhancement, building form और building envelope पे काम करेंगे. The requirement of cooling कम हो जाती है, then you will bring about all of these other factors, let's say low impact cooling, refrigeration based cooling, and other factors that can improve the efficiency of the system. This is an example of Indian Institute of Technology, Gandhinagar. I will just show you some images, and I just want you to answer to me how you feel the cooling requirement has come down. By which, what is the strategy that is being applied? Just look at these images. So I'm cooling I'm shading my areas. I'm putting a lot of vegetation, and I'm also trying that I don't have too much paving. So I have permeable surfaces, I don't have too much material. So all of those factors are contributing to what? Yeah, but it's basically what I'm trying to do is कि मैं अपने microclimate को थोड़ा सा enhance कर रहा हूँ vegetation से. Obviously, इधर यहाँ पे water body नहीं थी, but that would also be another strategy. So मैं shade भी कर रहा हूँ, I'm also using permeability as a factor. So all of those things are bringing down my temperature. Then I'm moving on to my building and I'm saying, all right, if my building is facing west, I'll shade it. I'll put as little amount of windows as possible on the eastern and western facades. I will try to say that there are, let's say, some amount of toilets that are placed here so that the main amounts of habitable areas are sort of stopped. Then again, what does this image show you? Good. So these are about responsible for, let's say, about 5 degrees of the temperature on the topmost floor. After I have exhausted all of these, I'm not going into too much details of each single element, but after I've exhausted all of these, I could also think of solutions which don't require cooling solutions which don't require refrigerant or too much energy. So, for example, what is happening here is that there is a big chamber. So this is a dining room that they have constructed, and there is a huge chamber. Air enters from above. You can sort of see micro ionizers here. So water droplets are formed, very, very tiny water droplets. And what this does is that this cools the entire building. And people are just here for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes at maximum during their lunch hour. So it's, even if it gets a little cool, that's fine by them. And in the end, the same campus has also employed some sort of a district cooling system that serves the hostel blocks at night, but the academic blocks at daytime, because of which they're able to sort of save on the resources that they would be consuming. And they have utilized other aspects as well. This is an example of NIT University Neemrana, and what they've done is they've started by saying, okay, what we're going to do is that we're going to start with a heavy plantation in our area. So plantation becomes a strategy that they will adopt a lot. And I will sort of show you, of course, this is again a very similar example of how they've tried to do permeable paving. They've used a courtyard sort of a building form, and all the buildings are facing either north or south. So the most significant cooling strategy that they've used is these earth air tunnel ducts. So what happens is that the wind is caught above, it travels down these vertical members, and then this is where it travels horizontally under the earth. Now what happens is that under the earth क्या मुझे फायदा मिलता है इन tubes को ले जाने में. So air is caught through these, and then it is made to travel 100 meters inside these tubes. Any idea why? Yeah. So आपका जितना भी टेम्परेचर हो, आपको रफली अर्थ के 4 मीटर के बिलो रफली 24 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड से 25 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड तक टेम्परेचर मिल जाता है, which means that this acts as an excellent heat reduction system. So अगर मैं यहाँ से एयर लेता हूँ, फिल्टर करता हूँ, उससे मैं 24 डिग्री के से ले जाता हूँ रफली 100 मीटर से, और उन्होंने जगह-जगह टेम्परेचर सेंसर्स लगा रखे हैं. Once it goes through that, मैं इसे evaporatively cool भी कर सकता हूँ, थोड़ा सा टेम्परेचर और लोअर करने के लिए, because it's primarily Rajasthan, so it has a hot dry climate, which means that मैं कुछ हद तक इसे थोड़ा सा cool भी कर सकता हूँ evaporative cooling से, and after that it enters the rooms through these ducts that you see. So every single room there has a small portion जहाँ से आपका air ये वाला filter होके cool होके अंदर आ जाता है, and this is for example the classroom. Now the way this works is that imagine a cool air. Now cool air is denser and heavier, therefore it will start filling up the room. Once it comes in contact with warm humans or equipments which are producing heat, the air sort of becomes lighter and then escapes. And you would see all of this happening through these. So these are the ducts that are used. So all of this needs to be designed before so that the building can actually utilize the advantage of such a system. So you can see that the whole, even the facade aesthetics are derived from these ducts. carrying the heated air through these chambers and then escaping. The biggest advantage is when normal air conditioning use नहीं कर रहा. Of course, that also means कि मेरे energy bills काफी कम आ रहे हैं, much more sustainable. I'm not throwing heat, taking this heat and throwing it outside. I'm actually cooling it, and I get 100% fresh air because I'm not recycling this air as I would have done in a normal air conditioning system. I'm taking this cool air, fresh air, filtering it, cooling it, and then throwing it out, which actually is a producing a good effect. I'm just going to run through a little bit. This is an example of IFTH Gandhinagar. Again, Gandhinagar, very similar principles of microclimate enhancement have been used. Even in interiors, they have tried to put some plantation. What you might see interesting here is the kind of shading devices they have used, where the shading device is slightly kept separate from the building. Now, why is that? Any ideas why the building and the shading devices would have been kept separately? Sorry? No, there's no air cavity. आपको नजर आ रहा है कि सारे के सारे air feeding हो गए. Air cavity only works if it's trapped air, not if it's feeding. So what is happening is that आपने ये कोशिश करी है that you put the shading system away from the building. What that does is that all of this can get heated up, but it will not transfer heat. Can you see this gap? Is my cursor visible? But you can sort of focus your attention on the right side, and you can sort of see. So if you just focus your attention right here, you can sort of see that again, ये shading device है, ये building है, मुझे gap नजर आ रहा है, right? Can everybody see that gap? Now what that ensures is that even when the shading device in itself gets heated up, the heat does not get transferred inside the building. अगर मैं एक normal छज्जा बनाता है जिसमें steel हो रहा होता, तो वो steel eventually अंदर तक जाता. तो यहाँ पे वो minimize करने की कोशिश करें. And again, other features of microclimate enhancement have also been taken place. For example, this device actually captures the water from up, and then it brings it down right here, throws the water here. So at least in this whole lobby area, it's always very cool because of evaporative cooling. And the western and eastern facades have been covered with all of these green areas. So आपको shading में मिल जाती है, microclimate enhancement में मिल जाती है. So all of these things are working in tandem. I think I'm just going to show one last case study. This is Gujarat Vidyapith. And what is happening here is that, of course, microclimate enhancement is being done. This is a old university. What they did was that there is an auditorium where they said, all right, in this auditorium we have certain amount of, what we will do is we will shade the main part of the auditorium with a double layer. तो उन्होंने पहले एक डबल लेयर बनाई जिससे आपको बिल्डिंग अंदर हीट आने से रोक दी जाती है. And then what they have done is there is a well. I'll show you an image of this. So what is happening is that let's say there is a well right here and there is water here. They take the water and they circulate it back, making it to microionizers. And then this water is made to travel through again 100 meters under the ground. The water travels through an earth air tunnel. Eventually, it reaches this auditorium. जहाँ से ये वाला आप air को अंदर ला सकते हैं. And once it reaches, you can sort of see the images right here. This is where the air would enter, and just a person is just holding the knob to be able to show that there is a little bit of air movement that gets inside. And this is how the system sort of works. So this is an image of the well, above the well. So यहाँ से पानी आ रहा है and again air movement से. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah, we're also looking out for more such innovative case studies. If you know in your regions that some of these principles have been applied, some of these case studies have been applied, do let us know. Then thank you.
We are through with the four presentations, and I think this was a mix of presentations for the science students, environment science students, and of course the planning and architecture students. And the mix of presentations that was so intelligently made that each one of you get something. And now I see somewhere that the way attentively you were watching the presentations, it means that impact factor is there. Again, that impact factor I don't expect huge, but every distance is covered with one step. So if you start, then the distance will automatically be covered. So with this note, we break for tea, and we will reassemble here after 20 minutes. And the tea is at the same venue. All of you are welcome. Thank you. ऑलमोस्ट रीचिंग टू द फाइनल एंड ऑफ इट, बट फाइनल आप लोगों ने देखा होगा जैसे में भी फाइनल बड़ा अच्छा होना चाहिए ना, तो फाइनल मजा आता है, राइट? So we are going to do something interesting for you, but for that I need little help. We have around few more chairs here. There will be people who will be here as well, as I keep telling you again, but I need little audience. मुझे कुछ ना वो audience में से कुछ interesting चेहरे चाहिए साथ में मेरे, तो वहां से मुझे एक आदमी खुद ही सिलेक्ट कर लीजिए, नहीं तो फिर मैं जहां पहुंच जाऊंगा उसको आना पड़ेगा. Either of you can raise the hand and I can quickly choose, or other will force and drag you here. ठीक है, याद आते हैं आप धक्का मार दो किसी को, नहीं तो मैं ढूंढने के लिए आ जाऊंगा. उस वाले दया सिंह आपके साइड में कौन से हैं जिनको मैं दया नहीं चाहिए, दया नहीं करता, वो बात की बात है. आप वहां से सबसे बढ़िया आदमी बताइए मुझे कौन है. नहीं, ऐसा कोई जरूरी नहीं है कि मुझे स्टूडेंट्स ही चाहिए, मुझे फैकल्टी भी चाहिए वहाँ. ऐसा नहीं है कि आप सर आप खुद आइडेंटिफाई करिए ना प्लीज. आई नीड 5 पीपल हियर. जी बस सर आप आ जाइए. जाना चौधरी, वी नीड टू हियर. मैंने बोला था आप यार सजेस्ट कर लीजिए, तो मैं पिकअप करूंगा. मैडम विभागी
मैडम भी कैसी टेक्स्ट कर गया क्या?
Environment science में से कौन कौन लोग हैं? Sorry, I don't identify you. Please, can you identify yourself? Environment science से कौन कौन लोग हैं? तो आप में से सबसे ज्यादा नंबर किसके आ रहे हैं? सबसे ज्यादा नंबर किसके आए हैं क्लास में इस बार, इस सेमेस्टर में? नॉर्मल है. अच्छा, सबसे कम किसके आए? आप अपने आप आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे, तो हो सकता है मैं रैंडम सिलेक्शन करूं. मैं जानता नहीं हूं आपको, ठीक है ना, पर्सनली मिला नहीं हूं, तो मैं आप में से रैंडम सिलेक्शन नहीं करना चाहता. तो कैन यू सजेस्ट अ नेम? आप आएंगे? आर्किटेक्ट भी है या सिर्फ प्लानर भी है इसके अलावा? आर्किटेक्ट यहाँ पे, हाँ प्लीज आओ आ जाइए. एनवायरमेंटल प्लानिंग से एक और चाहिए मुझे. जी, एनवायरमेंटल प्लानिंग से एनीबडी एल्स? रिसर्च स्कॉलर में है यहाँ पे एनवायरमेंटल साइंस रिसर्च स्कॉलर कोई नहीं है? मास्टर फाइनल ईयर. अच्छा, जिन्होंने ग्रीन वाले में स्टडी में किसने कंट्रीब्यूट किया? यहाँ एक मैडम थी ना जो उन्होंने सपोर्ट किया था उस स्टडी को, चले गई? हाँ मैडम जी बताइए. So now I need the panelists back. मैं डॉक्टर कुलवंत सिंह जी, डॉक्टर राजेंद्र सिंह जी आ गए प्लीज. प्रोफेसर अश्विनी लूथरा जी, सर आप सबसे आए नहीं. प्रोफेसर मनजीत सिंह आए नहीं ना? अब आप लोग शिफ्ट कर जाइए यहाँ, यू कैन ऑक्यूपाई मोर स्पेस. और जो पीछे है प्लीज आगे आइए, आपका रोल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट. नॉट राइट, एक चेयर वहां पे वो दूसरा के पास. ओके ग्रेट. तो बाकी जो है अगली सीट्स में वो हम हमारे सेल्फ अपॉइंटेड पर्सन है, वो भी अब पार्ट बन गए. तो आप 4 लोग के गेम का पार्ट. ठीक है? तो लार्जली इस माइक को यूज करेंगे. So हमने पिछले 1.5 days से we have been listening to that this heat and the cooling and the things like that जो आपने सबने सुन लिया. And largely हमारा एक major concern cooling India cooling action plan में रहा है, which is about the economically weaker section. Largely. तो मैडम आप भी चाहिए मुझे. आप इधर ही आ रहे हो. आपने कहा था उधर भी आप एक चेयर हम यहाँ मूव करेंगे. So largely, the issues for example, when it comes to resilient, livability, things like those, ultimately the power M or the money which is there with the richers or riches, they can still afford to live, or even in this worst condition, they can create. Like so, give the example, yeah, individual cooling से जिसकी cooling to maybe something else. हो सकता है बर्फ लगा के बीच में बैठ जाए अपने आप को बचाने के लिए. But somebody, the voices which never will reach for the people is the people who are maybe marginalized or are on the bracket of the affordability. Now we understand dimensions very well. I'm not looking at something which is dimensions. So जो सर कह रहे थे ना कि public consultation करना है हमने about the ideas and interface which is there. So how what is the public opinion and what exactly you look forward as that if I need to improve those areas. देखिए मुझे ये नहीं समझाने की जरूरत है कि costing बहुत छोटा होता है, land parcel बहुत दूर होगा, and all those kind of conditions we know it very well. Whatever we are doing, whatever is the reality on the ground, we all know it very well. So we are trying to look at our opinion from you, from all this group which is sitting here, which is the, you can say the think tanks of the town, or the kind of people who decides on to what exactly should be there as a requirement. So what is the larger bullet points which comes as a group from you? Group varies from like the students as well as from faculties, the practitioners also with us, and the people who have seen like enough of the circle of complete life in front of them, and they understand it very well that what is very important, what we think, looking at from whatever being discussed, informed, or your own personal information, what we suggest as maybe the 5 major bullet points for this panel to respond. 5 major points from you. Maybe what you can do is you can bunch yourself 3, 2, or whatever way with your partners over there and bring up 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, and 1 point, so that we get a very 5 striking questions which needs to be answered by panel or anybody in there. It's not that panelist ही जवाब देंगे इसका, CSC से भी आप directly question देना है. We are just looking for what is the 5 important question which comes in mind of the people who have been there on this course with us. Thank you very much for the music, but we'll read it later on. इसको करेंगे हम जरूर यूज, यही वाला. So once you are ready, I think मतलब आप क्वेश्चन किसी भी इंटरफेस में किसी भी सब्जेक्ट में आप पूछिए. If we pass it on to panel, if panel wants to pick it up, fine. If panel doesn't want to pick it up, anybody from the audience want to pick it up. We just want a perfect level of question and a perfect level of solution in response. Okay? I think we're clear on this. We'll give a pause for 2-3 minutes. तब तक आप music play कर लीजिए. So we give you 2-3 minutes to prepare your questions on that. Questions should be more than 5 also. It doesn't matter 5. मैडम मुझे आपका सपोर्ट चाहिए म्यूजिक में. मैडम ने 4-5 लाइनें यूज की थी ना शायद बटालवी वाली. आप अपना क्वेश्चन प्रिपेयर करिए. उसमें एक इंटरेस्टिंग लाइन थी, वो दोस्तों के लिए भी थी. मैंने पढ़ी वो पूरी कविता, उसके बाद आप भी पढ़िएगा, बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग थी. उन्होंने 4 लाइनें यूज की थी ना, कुछ लोग मन लगन कॉन्फ्राम है और उसमें 11 वाला भी था. And I sent actually texted to my friends also immediately, जो हॉस्टल में मेरे साथ थे ना यहाँ पे, उनको मैसेज किया
has gained from a recent visit. So you can understand and correlate the relationship. बड़ा important. अच्छा, आप लोग तब तक ये क्वेश्चन प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं, जूली अपना काम कर रही है. आप लोगों को कुछ कहना? Anybody wants to share any thoughts? माइक है ना मेरे पास यहाँ पे. Please, anybody. आप लोग प्लीज. सवाल नहीं पूछने, सिर्फ विचार देने. अरे विचार दो रहे हैं, अभी विचार वाला सवाल तो पूछ रहे हैं.
Sir, very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Shahbaz Sheikh. I'm from Transport Planning second year. सर मेरा सवाल ये है कि हम लोग अल्टरनेटिव्स की बात करते हैं, फॉसिल फ्यूल्स को लेके कि उसका अल्टरनेटिव लेके आएंगे, ईवी व्हीकल्स लेके आएंगे. बट सर करंट सिनेरियो लाइक इफ वी टॉक अबाउट एंड इफ वी टेक अ केस स्टडी ऑफ दिल्ली लाइक सिटी कैपिटल हमारा, तो वहाँ पे सर thousands of cars are coming on the road every day, ठीक है, and they are making more congestion on the road. तो हम ये सोचते हैं कि हम ईवी व्हीकल्स लेके आ जाएंगे तो कंजेशन से क्या है कि वो एमिशंस भी इंक्रीज हो रहे हैं हर साल. तो सर मसला क्या है कि इशू क्या है कि हम जो ईवी व्हीकल्स भी आ रहे हैं या जो डीजल कार्स आ रहे हैं, there is no any kind of policy for that for to regulate or restrict the registration of the cars, right? Like अभी जर्मनी का था कि यूरोपियन यूनियन जो है जर्मनी पे रेस्ट्रिक्शन लगा रही थी कि बाय 2035 आपको जो है डीजल कार्स प्रोड्यूस करना बंद करेगा, बट जर्मनी ने डिनाई कर दिया उसको. तो हमारे यहाँ सर ये हम ईवी व्हीकल्स लेके आए या कुछ भी लेके आ रहे हैं, बट वो कंडीशन तो तभी हो रहा है और उसके साथ साथ वो कंट्रीब्यूट करेगा हमारी सिटीज को मोर एज अ हीट आइलैंड बनाने में और गैस ट्यूब बनने में, जो कि दिल्ली बन चुका है. तो सवाल इसलिए सर ये है कि ये जो रेस्ट्रिक्शन हम क्या मतलब कोई पॉलिसी लेके नहीं आ सकते जिससे हम कार्स की जो प्राइवेट ओन व्हीकल्स हैं इन पे इनके इसको आई मीन जो इनका जो रेस्ट्रिक्शन हो रहा है या जिस तरह से इनको कर्व कर सके या किसी तरह से मिटिगेट कर सके.
Panel can use this question in case they require to. आप पास ऑन कर दीजिए. Anybody else? Quickly थोड़ा ब्रीफली सवाल पूछिए ताकि अगर आपका सवाल पैनल को पसंद आता तो ले लेंगे ना वो. आप लोग पूछोगे तो शायद वो पैनल तब तक डिसीजन बना चुका होगा. नहीं क्रॉस फायर नहीं करना. क्रॉस फायर नहीं करना. आप उसका सवाल पूछिए. देखो बड़ा आसान होता है दूसरे पे टिप्पणी करना, ठीक है ना. ये इससे सबसे आसान काम यही होता है. तो उस पर टिप्पणी नहीं करना. आप अपने विचार बताइए. अगर आपको लगता है कि ये लोग एब्जॉर्ब करेंगे उसे एज अ क्वेश्चन तो प्लीज टेल अस दैट. इनको हेल्प करिए ना थोड़ा सा. ओके उधर नहीं पूछना, फिर इधर पूछना. ओके सो ये भी एक सवाल है. वो कह रहे हैं पॉलिसी लाई है रिस्ट्रिक्ट करने की और ये कह रहे हैं टोटली बंद कर दीजिए. एनीथिंग एल्स? एनीथिंग एल्स सर? हाँ लाउड हो यार.
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन आपकी टीम और आपसे है कि जो आप बात कर रहे हैं कल और आज जो आपने बात की बिल्डिंग के ऊपर, जो बिल्डिंग का कूलिंग इफेक्ट के ऊपर बात कर सर, मेजरली लाइक हम बिल्डिंग के ऊपर बात कर रहे हैं कल से, और जो हमारे रोड सेक्टर है, ट्रांसपोर्ट सेक्टर है सर, जो रोड का जो मतलब लाइक उनका हीट आइलैंड जो बन रहे हैं, इंक्रीज हो रहे हैं डे बाय डे, हर सिटी में इंक्रीज हो रहे हैं सर. उनको रिड्यूस करने के लिए उनका जो इम्पैक्ट है सर अर्बन हीट आइलैंड का, तो सर इसके लिए कुछ स्ट्रैटेजी इलैबोरेट.
नोटेड. वो रिडक्शन वाला स्कीम में आ गया या टोटल व्हीकल बंद करने में आ गया? एनीथिंग एल्स? व्हीकल से हट जाइए थोड़ा. कुछ और पूछे ना. व्हीकल वाले दो हो गए. नहीं टैक्स नहीं चाहिए. सवाल आई गिव यू फुल स्पेस. थोड़ा सा एक का 6 महीने के अंदर एक बढ़िया सा पेपर निकालो. यू विल शेयर द स्पेस विद अस. आपने देखा ना आज बहुत सारे लोगों ने शेयर किया ना स्पेस, क्योंकि पिछले 6 महीने साल की मेहनत थी. So if you continue to do this, take this as a subject of interest, you will automatically do this. We are not just closing this in this. We'll keep coming back on this again. So anything else which you think is a पर्ची for the people who are making this decision? कुछ मिस नहीं कर रहे हैं लोग?
सर जैसा कि पहले वो सर आए थे जो सिटी फोरम से थे, उन्होंने बताया कि जो स्मार्ट सिटीज़ है वो भी एक आईटी सेक्टर को बूस्ट करने के लिए हम लेके आए हैं. ई व्हीकल्स जो आ रहे हैं वो भी एक तरह से ऑटोमोबाइल सेक्टर को बूस्ट ही करेंगे, क्योंकि फ्यूल चेंज हो रहा है. हम सवाल यही है कि इकोनॉमिकल सेक्टर्स जब तक जैसे हेल्थ को भी लेके चल रहे, तो इकोनॉमिकल सेक्टर्स जब तक हावी रहेंगे तब तक हम वोकेबिलिटी कॉन्सेप्ट्स और ये सब नहीं इंक्रीज कर सकते, तो उस चीज़ को कैसे वो-
एनीथिंग एल्स मैडम के पास सब आप वैसे कहाँ से आराम से बोल सकते हैं? Any environmental suggestions or whatever we do, it has to have a life cycle or thought process of operation and maintenance. ठीक है, और नालंदा यूनिवर्सिटी का ब्रीफली ऑडियंस सबके लिए बता देता हूँ कि मैडम कह रही है वो पहला एक टेंडर था जिसमें नेट एनर्जी वाटर एंड वेस्ट की डिमांड की गई थी। टेंडरिंग के प्रोसीजर को पूरा बदल दिया गया था, वो बीबी दोषी के उसमें इन्वॉल्व थे जो अब नहीं है हमारे बीच। तो उनका ये पर्सपेक्टिव था कि पहले टेंडर को नेट एनर्जी वाटर एंड वेस्ट में प्रूव करिए, तब मैं आपसे कॉस्टिंग। तो फर्स्ट प्रूव दैट योर कॉन्सेप्ट विल बी एबल टू डिलीवर दैट एंड देन। तो अभी जो यूनिवर्सिटी बन रही है वो नेट एनर्जी वाटर एंड वेस्ट पे है। एक्चुअली सारे एग्जांपल्स हमने इसमें कवर नहीं किए थे, टाइम कंस्ट्रेंट शॉर्ट था। नालंदा इज वन which we there is a publication which will come soon on this these which will be presented. He presented a snapshot ना, सारी रिसर्च दे देगा तो फिर मुश्किल हो जाता है। एनीथिंग फॉर एनवायरमेंट साइंस वाले आप कहिए प्लीज। आज इतना बड़ा एयर और वो वाले कल डिस्कशन चल रही थी और फ्लूइड डायनामिक्स हम बात कर रहे थे और गॉसियन फ्लूम्स, कुछ ऐसा। आपके क्वेश्चन रेडी हैं? जी मैडम। भाषा, भोजन, भवन, भजन और देश, ये 5 एलिमेंट कल्चर की और इम्पोर्टेंट एलिमेंट्स होते हैं। जब ये आ जाते हैं तो कुछ आई थिंक इंडिकेट तो किया गया था कि लिवेबिलिटी में सर ने काफी जगह पे लेके गए थे, हस्बैंड वाइफ के रिलेशनशिप को अच्छे से एक्सप्लेन करने की कोशिश करी थी। तब मनजीत सिंह सर ने आई थिंक डाला था वो कल्चर, हाउ इट कॉन्टेक्स्ट लूजेस एंड विद द चेंज ऑफ स्पेसेस, कि अगर यहाँ पे और दूसरी कंट्री में कल्चरल वेरिएशन में हाउ दिस थिंग्स विल वेरी, किस तरह की वो लेवल ऑफ जिसको कहते हैं ना एक दूसरे को सहने का और बर्दाश्त करने की लिमिट जो है वो कंट्रीज में कैसे वेरी करती है। सबने भी आई थिंक वैल्यूज एंड एथिक्स की ऑस्ट्रेलिया के कुछ कॉन्सेप्ट्स और इंडियन कॉन्सेप्ट को कोरिलेट करने की कोशिश करी, बट विल सी दैट इफ देयर इज अ बेटर आंसर फॉर फर्दर ऑन दिस। तो इफ यू आर डन देन आई नीड दोस मे बी इधर से शुरू करते हैं, ठीक है? तो आप सिर्फ सवाल पूछेंगे, किसको रेफर करना है वो उनकी चॉइस का, यहाँ से कोई भी पिक कर सकता है उसका सवाल को, बट सवाल को बिल्कुल ब्रीफ सवाल।
जैसे हम ग्रीन रेटेड बिल्डिंग्स की बात करते हैं, ग्रीन रेटिंग मिलती है तो सर वो पर्टिकुलरली कंस्ट्रेंट क्यों है? जैसे एक क्राइटेरिया मेंशन्ड है तो हम ऐसा बायलॉज में या पॉलिसी इंटरवेंशन करके कुछ ऐसा इवॉल्व करें जिससे कि हर एक बिल्डिंग जो भी न्यूली कंस्ट्रक्ट हो वो ग्रीन रेटिंग के अंदर क्लासिफिकेशन क्राइटेरिया में हो।
So this is exactly not a question, it's a suggestion, right? So we'll note it as a suggestion that basically the policy instruments currently under ECBC or these formats are being asked under EIAs or maybe not under bylaws. Bylaws में भी recommendation मांगी जा रही है, but these are largely for commercial buildings. तो इनका suggestion ये है कि वो ECBC as well और या एनर्जी कोड्स या हम कुछ भी थर्मल कंपैटिबल कोड्स, कुछ भी ऐसे कोड्स बनाएं तो उनको फिक्स मैंडेट में कैसे उतारा जा सकता है। मे बी समथिंग जो कि मेरे ख्याल से हम बाद में रिस्पॉन्ड कर सकते हैं कि सर हाउ यू आर इंकॉर्पोरेटिंग
It's how you evolve as the total ecosystem जो है बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्शन का। यदि कोई भी चीज हम रेवोल्यूशनरी करना चाहें ना तो बहुत सारा उस पे पुल बैक होता है, बहुत रेजिस्टेंस होती है कि जी कल तक तो ये था, अचानक आज से ये सारा कैसे हो जाएगा। तो देयर इज अ ट्रांजिशन प्रोसेस विच यू गो थ्रू। तो अभी ट्रांजिशन प्रोसेस ये है कि हम एनकरेज करते हैं कि ये आपको 175 एफएआर मिल रहा है, यू विल गेट, यदि आप 30% वाले ब्रैकेट में आते हैं, ग्रीन बिल्डिंग की तरफ बढ़ते हैं तो आपको 4% एक्स्ट्रा एफएआर। यदि आप 80% कंप्लायंट होते हैं तो 10% एक्स्ट्रा एफएआर। If you are 100% compliant, 15% FAR. So this is basically a carrot and stick method. कि भाई आप पढ़ो आपको और यदि नहीं करते तो you are stuck at the original FAR. So this is, but now what we have been seeing is in last few years, almost each and every project is vying as to project themselves as a green building. तो हर एक बंदा वो 15% एक्स्ट्रा FAR के लिए आने की कोशिश कर रहा है. So now is the opportune time. हो सकता है 1-2 साल बाद we can think of making it mandate कि इसके बगैर बिल्डिंग हम यदि ग्रुप हाउसिंग कॉलोनी है या कमर्शियल है या IT है तो it can't be approved unless it's certified as a green. So basically it's an evolution.
तेलंगाना में ग्रुप हाउसिंग में ऑलरेडी ECBC मैंडेट कर दिया गया.
हमने भी किया है बट वो बहुत ज्यादा इफेक्टिव नहीं है. हम कहते हैं कि भाई यू विल फॉलो ECBC बट वी स्टॉप एट दैट. We don't follow up on it to see whether they are actually implementing the elements or not. So, but it is an evolutionary process. Or ECBC is so complicated that even for us planners, not more than 2-4 से ज़्यादा उसको समझ नहीं पाए और बहुत सारी ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम्स कराई. So it has again to be made very simple to implement, simple to scrutinize, simple to see that it has been implemented on. जब तक हम complicated रखेंगे फिर वो loses its relevance. Thank you.
सर एक क्वेश्चन और ले लेते हैं. अगर इसमें ऐड करेंगे मैं पहले अगर कॉन्टेक्स्ट चेंज हो रहा है इसी तरीके का कोई और क्वेश्चन है हमारे पास. एनीथिंग व्हिच वाज एनर्जी अगेन ECBC या ऐसा कोई सवाल तो नहीं ना किसी और के पास. यही है सब सर. मुझे लग रहा था एक
Thank you. Just to share what is happening in Australia on this point. It is mandatory now that whenever you launch your planning project, you must do the sustainability assessment. When you do the assessment, then there are a number of aspects of assessment depending on the scale of the project. For example, if it is a single house or 2 houses or 3 or 4, up to 7, then you need to do a relatively less complex assessment. That is known as SDA, Sustainable Development Assessment. If it is a medium-sized development, then the assessment becomes slightly more complex. Then you add number of other factors as well. The use of materials, the livability, then the internal environment, the use of water, the use of energy, all those things, and solar plants, etc. And if still it is a larger project, then it still becomes more complex. So it is called SMP, Sustainable Development Plan. Now, so far as the minor projects are concerned, the applicant submits assessment report, sustainability assessment report prepared by a consultant. And the planning department also evaluates them, because every council, almost every metropolitan council, has a sustainability planner as well, in addition to the planners who does that assessment. And then if it is a larger project, then it is SMP, and then it sometimes go for external assessment as well. So it depends upon, and each development must get 7 rates. There is a rating out of 10. You must get 7. And the interesting thing is that there is a lot of cooperation from the development industry on this. There was no opposition. There are 2 reasons. One, the planning department or the council, different councils, they held conversation meetings, you see, with the development industry, making them aware, highlighting the benefits. The second factor is the the awareness among the public about sustainability. So if your development or housing is more sustainable, it is achieving 7 stars, then there will be more demand and you get good return. Not only this, if you when you sell your project, you see the development or component of it, you must give it in writing as a statutory document to the prospective buyer that the rating of this building is this. So public awareness about sustainability and also working closely with the development industry, that are the two key, you see, fundamental things which are. So this is what is happening.
So largely, I'll come back onto this question. The questions and answers. Specifically, we are looking at one particular sector, economically weaker section, and the LIs, which are going to struggle as a response from the society, as well as a response from the government or any of the implemented, right? So we are not talking about any commercial buildings, right? So if your question is specific to economically weaker section and LIs, because that's the bracket which is going to struggle the most. Sir, any response you want to give on this?
Different sections are concerned. The development industry, because most of the plan, the role of the public sector is basically to plan, approval of planning, but the actual development is in the road. So far as the economically weaker sections is concerned, I'm just using the terminology. It is 10% of the development must be developed by the developer for that section. And so far as the livability or sustainability is concerned, there is no compromise on that.
The parameters remain.
But the other parameters, that is size and all those things are, but sustainability, livability, it must be.
So I see, Professor Gupta, you want to add something to it?
Actually, I wanted to add in relation to it is not only the building part where your compliances are compulsory, mandatory. Now it is that whenever any project is coming up, which is a bigger project along the road especially, you have to have EIA. And it is not only the EIA, it is TIA also. Because if any project is having impact on traffic, say a mall is coming, and then lot of traffic will be generated, and a bottleneck will be there, and it will be a heat island itself. So if the project is having implication on traffic, then it becomes mandatory for the project owner, to do the needful for traffic first, that is compliance again. Do the needful for the traffic, and then the project will be approved.
Madam, either of you, any questions that
Thank you, Rajnish. I'll take 1 extra minute.
Sure.
I'm glad that Dr. Ritu got our attention to culture. And last 1.5 days, I congratulated CSC for all the cooling examples that you have given. But 1.5 days, all I could see was heritage management. And my question to the panel is that when we are talking about cooling, last 2 days, it was all about decongestion. It's all about greening the area, all about taking care of water body, all about, like somebody at the back said that, have policy to restrict transportation, so on and so forth. So all I see is SDG 11 and within that SDG 11.4. And so my question to the panel is that why is that we don't talk about heritage? Yesterday I had a nice talk with Chalender, and he said that we don't talk about heritage. His presentation was all heritage, but he said we don't talk about heritage because it doesn't sell. So my question to the panel is that why is that we see heritage in isolation, and why is that whenever we talk about heritage, we talk about monuments, when it should be heritage zones where we have the continuous space. So why can't we have a policy convergence?
So I one response to this, right? So one is to one. So Manjeet Singh sir के पास जाता हूँ मैं. I think you can give a very appropriate answer to this.
Actually, conservation मेरे comments थोड़े जरूर हो गए. Once we are talking about Uncle Sam's model about culture and all those things, what is being given by social media and mass media? Our cultural values, consciously, unconsciously, are reduced to rubber. For example, our great city Chandigarh, traditionally we were saying that cow is mother of India. There is cow in Chandigarh. We have divorced the cow from Chandigarh. Coming to other issues, the main concern is that most of us, yesterday Mr. Bahel had given one comment. Most of our cities are hundreds and hundreds of years old. And as per the various aspects related to conservation, preservation of sites and monuments and things like that, all those acts, the act says that a building or area or a pocket or a city more than 50 years old is for heritage or conservation. But practically in Punjab, how many cities are there which are less than 50 years? Practically we don't have any comment or theory or thoughts. There are three things. Conservation is related to the central core of the city. That is one aspect, which is congested, which is I don't want to use the term, but which is Bharat. And outside that particular central zone, what we call CBD or central city, is India. The value systems, the planning efforts, and various techniques, they are poles apart for those ideas. You may not like, we are having municipal committees to maintain the central areas, and we are having improvement trusts and authorities which are predominantly concerned with the outside areas. We may not be able to understand what Professor Harjinder Singh used to say, critical economy of the areas or the terms. But the concept is very clear. The municipal committees, they are the maintenance bodies, they are at the mercy of the state and central governments, whereas the milk and malai is with the authorities and the improvers. So maintenance part, and then again you are at the mercy. This is one aspect. Then another aspect, few days back I discussed with Ashwin Radhikar. Most of our municipal committees, they are executive officers, they are from the law faculty. And they are concerned with their legal issues and concerns. If all this August House gives us support, we want that all the executive officers in municipal committees and corporations, they should be planners. Once they are planners, they understand the central theme of central areas, and they would be planning in relation to the heritage of the area and heritage concepts of the particular region or area because of cultural value. That is what I would like to put. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I think very important question, sir, where sir has given you a very good context of municipal functionalities and things. So, luckily, one was municipal town planner, I was there. So, anything you want to respond to this? How this preservation and conservation, anything you want to contribute? कि अभी जो मैं बहुत सारा स्कीम में गोल्डन टेम्पल के आसपास जो हेरिटेज को डेवलप करने के लिए या कुछ हमने जो फीचर्स बनाए हैं, एनीथिंग इंटरेस्टिंग फॉर ऑडियंस टू नो?
गुड मॉर्निंग सर, एक पुराने मेरे टीचर्स हो, मेरे स्टूडेंट गोल्डन टेम्पल ਦੇ ਅਰਾਊਂਡ ਸਰ ਹੈਰੀਟੇਜ ਸਟਰੀਟ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨੇ ਡਿਵੈਲਪ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ। ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਈ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਸਬਸਿਡਰੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਡਿਵੈਲਪ ਹੋ ਗਈਆਂ, ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਸੋਸ਼ਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਤਰੀਕ 'ਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੋਟਲਸ ਉੱਥੇ ਬਣ ਗਏ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਨਆਥੋਰਾਈਜ਼ ਬਣ ਰਹੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਸ਼ਰੂਮਿੰਗ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ
I got it. So basically, what he says, what he points out is that heritage actually is another economic becomes automatically a driver for it.
Getting commercialized.
So economics becomes one of the parameters which push maybe necessary or unnecessary developments along with that. So.
Actually, for this, if you see the heritage street developed, the old facades have gone. Even there was a school which was 100 years old that was demolished and multiple parking is constructed there. The hotels are the conversions of residential uses. And if you have a round of the world city, you will still find, I would say, the remains of history, architecture, art, culture. Because I have lived in one of those areas. The Thada extension outside the residential, that used to be a sitting place where the ladies used to chop their vegetables, knitting sweaters, and it was eye on street. Now this heritage is lost. We talk about the culture. And if this, if I take a thread from Meherban's concern over hotels, mushrooming of hotels has deteriorated the culture of that area. Because now they are not the residents, but the people coming from outside, and they don't have a connect with each other. There are many dimensions, and long back I discussed with Professor Manjeet Singh कि ये जो हेरिटेज स्ट्रीट बनाई है इसमें हेरिटेज तो खत्म हुआ है। इफ यू गो टू जयपुर, मुझे तो ये दिन में तो मुझे जयपुर लगने लग जाता है।
because the pink color and the paintings and artwork done, that is from there. तो जो कल्चरल हेरिटेज की आपने बात करी है, अपने आप में वर्ड दो लग रहे हैं, बट इट्स ए ह्यूज एरिया एंड प्रोबेबली इट नीड्स टू बी टेकन केयर ऑफ. और इसमें भी जो ये आज का थीम चल रहा है कॉन्फ्रेंस का, उसमें भी रिलेशनशिप, वो शायद पॉसिटी ऑफ टाइम के कारण हम लोगों ने ज्यादा बीच में डाले नहीं है, बट डेफिनेटली ये सारे के सारे कलर्स भी काम करते हैं इसमें, हीटिंग एलिमेंट्स में. और उसमें ये जो रेजिडेंशियल से कमर्शियल हुआ है, क्योंकि एक घर में 4 लोग रहते हैं, अगर वो जॉइंट फैमिली है, 8 लोग रह रहे हैं, 10 लोग रह रहे हैं, और उसी जगह पे उसी प्रॉपर्टी में अब 50 लोग रह रहे हैं, तो आपका हीटिंग एलिमेंट तो डिफरेंट हो जाता है. तो देयर आर कनेक्ट्स. तो इसके ऊपर डेलिब्रेशन हो सकते हैं.
So certainly from CSC perspective, if I respond to this, we do document all the time wisdom which is there. First book which we released was Line Wisdom on plain water harvesting concepts, which you understand from architecture perspective as well as from area guiding cooling and other perspective, how important that water is a resource, and plus the microclimate enhancement that becomes important. Then another book which we documented in part of the kit which was given to panel was building wise. So this documents almost very interesting buildings which has been there. Then there's another book which is Wisdom to Build, or you can say the recent one which was shared on the as a e-link, which talks about all the materials. So it's not only the cultural, it's not about the human socio-economic which is getting lost. Even in the heritage, when you look at the kind of traditional materials are also getting lost. And that's where this new form of concrete or whatever we are talking about, pour down concrete, are now dominating the space which is there in complete built-in model. But as Sir is right, that 1.5 days is too short for that. But we do run this detailed course which is in our training center there. In case you find an opportunity, it will be great for you to have an interface with the team over, because they will capture almost every element. But I'll try to see if I have more books on this, then I'll do that. But Professor wants to respond to you.
Again, just to share Australian experience on this. As Professor Manjesh indicated, Australia is a very new country. So one would say that what is the of heritage value, which is your significance, but just though it's a new country, being those colonization is concerned. The other thing is that the people are very aware about whatever heritage they have. And the buildings usually are listed on the heritage list because of a number of things as we know. One is if an important event has occurred sometime in the building, some very important meeting of national level or which change the history, you see. Those all such buildings are listed relating to the event. Then also those buildings where some very important person, important not just politically, who has done some outstanding work for the community, or no rather someone who is artist or writers or politician or social worker. So very so associated building associated with such personality. And third is the buildings which are of outstanding character or architecture. So these are the three key elements when they decide whether a building or a precinct is a heritage one. And then the other thing is that there are 4 levels of a heritage building. One, and all that is done in the basis of heritage studies. One is heritage, buildings of heritage significance at the local level. And then at the state level, and then at the national level, So accordingly, there are plans and programs. For example, even at the local level, um, the controls are so specific. Sometimes you change the external color. You can't have a new window. You can't change even an element which is visible from the street state. So you need to have approval, and you need for approval, then you need to submit to the planning department the export reports. They very high
डॉक्टर कुलकर्णी सिंह आप भी कुछ इसमें कंट्रीब्यूट करने के लिए
Thank you so much. I think the basic question was why heritage is considered sacred. Yeah, very true. See, there are two organizations in India. One is the INTAC, and other is the Indian Heritage Cities Network. I happen to be part of the Indian Heritage Cities Network as its founder member or a founder trustee, you may call it. Our experience is largely that if we have to deal with the maintenance or conservation of these, I would say, properties, buildings, or for that matter, even monuments, uh, there is a dearth of financial resources, both with the state governments as well as with the, I would say, local governments. लोकल गवर्नमेंट्स के पास तो पैसा इस मामले में है ही नहीं, इसलिए उनको अप्रोच करते हुए भी I would say that we really got tired and we didn't get any money. We were working in Karnataka, we were working in Rajasthan, we started working in Odisha, and we also worked in Madhya Pradesh. These four states where our focus was as a work of the Indian Heritage Cities Network, which was established somewhere in 2006, right? And they are still being supported by not the national government, but only by one state government, that is the state government of Karnataka. I would like to say my brief experience is uh, it's the, I would say, tourism departments or culture departments of the state governments who are trying to lead and trying to, in a way support either the conservation or the promotion of that. And therefore, as a matter of fact, when it comes down to, because of the economic reasons, or I would say market reasons, things what have happened, let us say, in the Alcazar of Amritsar, the total scenario has completely changed. यहाँ से बिल्डिंग को तोड़ा गया और उसको 1 लाख रुपए की ईंटें बेच दी गई जो राजस्थान में पहुंचा दी गई, वहां वो यूज हो रही है. They are building the heritage of this place in Rajasthan somewhere. So that's what it's mainly because the area is not of a high level interest, और म्यूनिसपैलिटीज के जो 18 फंक्शन शेड्यूल में दिए हुए हैं उसका हेरिटेज का कोई जिक्र नहीं है. So that is how automatically things are happening, but they are happening. If we have to really save it, I think it's the concerned people, concerned architects. There has to be movement of that. There are certain buildings which have been protected, let's say in Gujarat. It's mainly because I would say that local heritage architects who actually really led the movement there to ensure that those buildings at any cost are not touched. So that's where, as a matter of fact, it's a people's role in all that. Thank you.
Thank you. And now it will be like one question and one answer, right? So I'll rather when Madam Kiran Sandhu, I'm passing the question now. You will pose the question. So panel will say that who want to respond, and you may pick up that you want to hear the response from who. Because otherwise we'll lose out the questions from all of them. So I just need one question and one answer, response.
If I ask a question, for example, that we are focusing on the low income group, so I would rather be a part of deliberation and how can we really, thinking about these people rather than, because I think this was the prime question which you had.
Why don't you start with it? We will decide whether
Okay,
the answer will come from you.
put the same question which you have put up to our working panel. So we come back to the point where we were talking about the low income groups and how can we really make livability, I would say, at least a minimum level of livability